Hey, everybody, welcome into another Mortgage Impact podcast. My name is Jen Bates, and I have Jake Failing on the podcast this time. Jake, check you out over there, your podcast.
Hi, Jen. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for taking the reins today.
You're welcome. Jake, VP of Marketing for Movement Mortgage. And we also have on the show today the host of the Massive Agent podcast, the co-founder of the Industry Syndicate Podcast Network. He's a realtor, he's a speaker, he's an author. He does a whole lot of things. Dustin Brohm. Dustin, thank you for being on today, bud.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. How's Salt Lake these days?
Hot as hell, but it's not humid. There's no humidity, so we got that going for us.
Dry.
Still 102.
It's very dry heat out there.
Dustin, I got to say, so I don't know if people are going to take this in, Jen, visually as well. I don't know. But Dustin is wearing a Movement t-shirt, which he proudly sports often in his stories. It's a little Easter egg, and it makes me smile every time. And he reminds me, if you keep passing them along, and there's like RESPA involved here, I think, so maybe I should stop. But then we'll keep the content coming.
We just bleep out that entire thing,
there.
Jake. Yeah, we just bleep it out. It's like, no, we didn't say any of that just now. But guys,
you guys make really comfy t-shirts.
We do. Right?
So here we are.
They're the best. All right, guys, we have a lot going on. Just a couple little things with real estate and home buying and what's going on in the country right now, thanks to a pandemic that has really upended a lot of things. But housing has been the bright spot. I feel like every time we put out a market update, it is, man, tech's doing really well. The general economy is really struggling. But hey, housing, because housing is just been an incredible bright spot for our economy and everything going on. So, Dustin, I want to get a view from a real estate and realtor perspective of where you guys are right now, just kind of a pulse check of your home buying environment and what's going on with the realtor world.
Yeah, it's very in line with most major markets in the country. It's just on fire. You know, you'll put a house on the market and have 12 offers, by the end of the day. And it's crazy. Escalation clauses are becoming more prevalent, where, just 2 or 3 years ago, we didn't see them that often, even though it was a hot market. What I like about that is you're seeing buyer's agents learning new ways to better serve their clients. They're learning how to make their offers more competitive, and by learning different tricks and different techniques and strategies. And there's so many of them, but we're seeing more of that. So it's getting more competitive, but those that really make an effort and are focused on improving their skills and connecting with other agents so that there's already some sort of familiarity with the listing agent when you go to make an offer, and there's some mutual respect, like all of that starting to pay dividends in a big way. Stuff that agents should have been doing and loan officers should have been doing a while ago, those who have been doing it, they're winning in a big way. It's and it's just becoming very evident who was doing those things.
Yeah, Jake, on that loan officer side, what loan officers should have been doing for a long time ago is just creating those strong relationships and just making themselves a little bit more competitive with those realtors.
Yeah, they've got no choice.
Yeah.
We have been pushing personal branding. If you listen to Dustin's podcast and everything that he talks about, we've been pushing it for months and months, years. And now that's what you've got. You've got companies like ours, Movement, that'll make educational content and things like that to use. But hopefully you've had a head start building personal relationships and having your own platform to stand on, because that's more necessary now than it was ever before to keep things moving in this environment.
Yeah, Dustin, what's sticking for some of those people? We have the virtual showings now. Everything is moving into a much more virtual space for who knows how long at this point. Obviously, some states have different restrictions, but what is sticking for some people? What are some things, those things you talk about we should have been doing? What are they? What's working?
The very foundation of it, here's what's an absolute non-negotiable. If you are not visible online, if you can't be found, or if people don't ever see you in their news feeds, you don't exist. That's just what it is. And so back in February and March, when everything really started to hit the fan and got crazy, there were so many agents and loan officers that they just sat down. They're like, well, I don't know what to do. I'm scared. And I get it. Like there's still so much uncertainty, But I feel like we've gotten our feet under us to where uncertainty is just part of the gig now. But February, March, like it was crazy. And what I kept telling people is, look, your competitors are laying down. They're not spending money on advertising. They're not doing content. They're stepping aside. So you have less competition. And the agents that are on my team and the agents that I know and that I coach, they've really they've thrived and really dramatically grown their business because they stepped into that space where so many competitors were sitting down and taking a breather out of fear or just uncertainty. And they just started doing more content. They started doing videos, and it doesn't matter what it is. It really doesn't. You could do YouTube videos. You could just write cool stuff on LinkedIn, Instagram stories. You could do a podcast or vlog. Any of it works. All of it works. But those that just started doing it and then spending some money on advertising to get more people to see that, now they start showing up online. People who are in their networks that they haven't seen in 30 years or 20 years from high school, they start seeing them more and more in their news feeds. And then all of a sudden they're like, wait, interest rates are what? I should probably buy a house. Who's the first agent they think of? Who's the first lender they think of?
Mm-hmm.
The one that's been in their news feed this whole time.
Right.
And so those that have been doing those things are really winning in a big way.
Yeah. And it's funny when we talk about interest rates inching up, like interest rates went up this week, the average for Freddie Mac at 2.99%, right? That's inching up. That's where we are. Going up is still below 3% on an average, which is insane. So
Right.
Dustin, as a realtor and work with you, coach real estate agents and things like that, if an LO is listening to this podcast, what can the LOs do better? Like what's something they need to be doing to build on those relationships? That's an easy thing to do right now for them, how they can win.
Literally the exact same thing. The exact same thing that agents are doing, because we all have the same customer, right? The home buyer. That's our customer. Like we're just two sides of the same coin. You're bringing their financing. We're organizing every other part of the transaction. It's the same person. So how do you reach those people? What gets their attention? What do they want to see? Not what you want them to see. If you want to do a market update or a rate update every frickin' day, sorry, people are tuning out because they don't care. It's boring. They just want to know, is it a good time to buy? Okay, cool. Let's do it. Are you likable? Do you have personality? Are you going to be fun to work with? All of those things are what matter up front. You will be able to prove that you're a great agent and a knowledgeable agent or a knowledgeable lender, once you get into a transaction. But you have to get into a transaction. So you have to just talk about what's cool in the community. Like, here's what I love. And I think this works everywhere. Whenever I see a crane, I'm like, I wonder what's going in there. What is that building over there? What is that thing? I'm always so curious. And a lot of times I'll try to Google it and I can't find it. Sometimes I get so curious about what something is that I'll contact the city's zoning department and be like, what is this? And they'll tell me. So there's so much opportunity. Like, why don't you just cover what that is? And if it's like another dentist's office or something, like, you don't have to highlight that, but is Topgolf coming to town, or a new brewery, or a restaurant, or, some skate park or a splash pad? All of that stuff people want to know about, and they're really interested to learn about it once they hear about it. Why can't you just deliver that? Talk about the community, what's going on in it, what interests you, and then just do more of that. And they're naturally going to find out that you're going to prove that you're a local expert who also sells homes or who also does mortgages.
I love that. It's being in touch with your own community. It's very underrated thing in the social media world. And you touched on Jake's soft spot with the brewery there. And if you ever want to know where a good brewery is, that's personal branding at its best there. And Jake, that speaks to your, just pressing record, just getting yourself out there. It's gonna be awful the first time you do it. And then you progress and you get better. But Jake, I also want to jump in there too with what we've done recently about helping our own LOs set expectations too, because in a world where it's crazy, that is just another thing that speaks to what Dustin's talking about, of making sure that you're going to get them, reel them in, but how do you keep them? And it's making sure that you're a trustworthy person and setting expectations.
Yeah, I would agree. And I don't want to talk myself out of a job here, but what we have found is that our loan officers are so busy, they're needing us less and less. And so, Jen, I mean, you know this. We've had to we leaned into education a long time ago, but we really leaned into education over the last 5 to 6 months, because that's what people are craving. And so when all of a sudden words like forbearance become used in regular sentences and in other things like that, people want to know, like, what does that mean? How's that going to affect my credit? How does that affect my mortgage? And so we really leaned into that content. And so, like, that has been our voice in this whole thing is, let's be the trusted advisor. Let's have all of the answers, from a corporate perspective, but obviously in creative sort of movementized ways to give to the loan officers as well. But then understand that they probably won't use all of it, and that's okay. And that's actually what we're coaching. So it's like we're talking out of both sides of our mouths a little bit, Jen. And so nothing makes me prouder sometimes than to see our loan officers not using our stuff, like using it in spirit, using the headline, using the idea, but showing themselves, showing them, they're experimenting with a new like green screen that they bought on Amazon that they have no idea how to use, and half their bodies disappeared. But you know what? They pressed record. People discovering Anchor for the first time and getting podcasts up off the ground. We're seeing that more and more and more. And like I said, I just hope that we're not working ourselves out of a job here pretty soon, Jen.
I don't think that's going to happen, Jake. I hope not, because I enjoy working for Moving.
That's actually what this podcast is about, Jen.
That's what we needed to talk about. We're recording on a Friday.
Pop into the waiting room and yep.
Next week, you're just going to fix the glitch, and I will go about my business. It'll be wonderful. No. So, Dustin, too, I want to get a little bit more granular on the real estate side with talking about inventory, because that is an issue. So many people are refinancing. Refinancing slowed down just a little bit, tiny bit, because of the FHFA, making it a tiny bit more expensive to do a refi. But great news today about housing starts. What is inventory like from your perspective, and how are realtors handling that?
Yeah, it's a concern here in Salt Lake, and then, well, everywhere. It's not like there's a shortage of homes. There's just a shortage of homes that where the owners of them, right? So let's fix that. So there's so many different things you can do. What I used to do, which I don't really recommend anymore, especially with COVID, and we all have different comfort levels with interacting with others. But I used to go door knocking, and I would just say, hey, I have some, make sure that you're being honest about this, but hey, I have some buyers that really want to move into this neighborhood, and there's only 2 homes in this whole area, and they don't like them. Have you ever thought about selling your house? That works, but you don't have to do that at their doorstep. You can do that in an Instagram story. You can run swipe up ads on Instagram and Facebook or TikTok if you'd like, where, you're basically just like standing, it's you talking to the camera with the neighborhood behind you and say, hey, I have this family who's trying to buy a house in this neighborhood, and we can't find anything. There's nothing available. If you know someone who's selling a house in this area, let me know. Swipe up and let me know. Like, you could say it however you want, but that works. I've seen that work all over the country in every market. So you just have to get creative. And you know what I'm finding? Those that are able to find homes that are not currently listed, and those who aren't, the variable there is work and effort. It really is. It's you could send letters, you could go door knocking, you could make calls, you can do mass texts if you really want to bug the crap out of people. But just do some swipe up ads targeted to a certain area, and like, just try. Like, you can reach so many people with the technology we have available with social media. You could do one 90-second video or one 15-second video and reach 20,000 people. Like,
right.
You can't go knock 20,000 doors.
No.
You'd be arrested,
Yeah, what is it? Casey always said the F in Facebook stood for free, and that's like his whole, he says that all the time, is like social media is an incredible piece of free advertising, and if you put a tiny bit of money behind it, like you said, and get that swipe up ad on Instagram, boom, done.
That's my favorite quote of his. I remind him every time Facebook has changed just a touch since 2008.
Just here and there. But, once you get that lead, though, too, you guys are both very good at the soft skills side of it. You maybe get that person, and let's say you're meeting a new set of realtors, you're meeting some loan officers in a virtual setting like this. You've never met them before, but you're meeting them here. That's a whole different ballgame, too. And I think that's kind of changing of how people are forced to become better at the soft skills, like just working and making an effort at them.
Yeah. Honestly, like I've never really taken like sales classes or anything, and I probably should, but whenever like the books or courses that I tried to listen to were all like hard selling, like Tom Hopkins type stuff where like it doesn't matter what somebody says in response. You're trying to like ask questions to get them into a corner so that they do what you want. That doesn't work in 2020. Sorry. Like not with the people you want it to work with. So just be your freaking self. That's all I do. And I repel some people because they don't like my personality, but I attract others. I'm just okay with that. Not everyone's going to be your friend. Not everyone's going to like you. You don't like everyone else. So what? So just be yourself. And if you're just yourself and show some personality and you're likable to the person that you're trying to get business from, you probably will get the business from them. But if you're trying to be someone you're not, or you're trying to be too professional or whatever, like they can sense it. And there's something just kind of weird, or maybe it's just like it's lacking. They're like, oh, that guy's nice, but I don't know how fun they'd be to work with. Well, just be yourself and you'll attract the right people.
Yeah. Jake, you lean in on that a lot too. I mean, that's just exactly what we're talking about, being yourself somewhere where people just press record, like talk about what you know. And
yes, absolutely be yourself. And I think that's why I am a big fan of Dustin, because I do like his approach. He shoots you straight. Dustin, I would love to know, man, because I was saying to Jim before we got on, you put your influencer hat on and then you take it off and you do your day job. And so you and I are in the same boat in that we get to go on 20-minute podcasts and say things like, you should do this more and work on your personal brand, and this will change. And we don't really get into tactics sometimes because we don't have time. I would love to know, like, what, as the massive agent, like, what kind of apps are you into now? Like, what are you using to help push your personal stuff?
I love Headliner for doing. Okay, what I focus on most now is my podcast is kind of like home base. It's everything. And then
are you just, hey, come on, we're going to break here. Are you still into it? Like, is it still like hot and heavy, your number one thing? Because you're like, are like the guy in the podcast space. I'm just curious, like, if you're still doubling down.
Absolutely. Yeah. Okay. In fact, I've taken a big step back from selling personally, and I refer out a lot of local deals. It depends on what it is, but I closed a listing 2 days ago, but I'm very picky because I really focus on what I love to do. And I feel like I can have a bigger impact and make myself happy by helping other agents and lenders to close a bunch more deals. But I still have to know what I'm talking about. Sure. So that's why I'm still in the game to a certain extent, so I can make sure that I'm still relevant. Kind of going off on a tangent there, but my
Headliner.
podcast Headliner, but my podcast is home base, right? But then you publish it. Well, then what? You have to get people to know that it exists, just like any other type of content. If you're doing a video, if you're writing a blog, a podcast, you have to get new people to discover it. Well, Headliner is a great way to just like upload your audio, and it can do the little like waveform, little audiogram things, and you can do subtitles on graphics. And Headliner makes it super easy, and it's free. Headliner.app, I think. It's not an app. It's it's on desktop. But I love Headliner. I love the over for graphics. Canva's okay. Canva's pretty good for stuff. What else? And then Facebook ads, Facebook and Instagram ads. When you have a podcast, for example, or a video or some piece of content you want someone to get to, you can create with Headliner some like a little 15-second blurb of your show, something that you think will grab attention and make someone want to watch. And you can do that as a story, and then they can just swipe up to listen. But what's cool is you can actually specify iOS users or Android users. So then you know that the link goes right to Apple Podcasts if it's an iOS user, or the link goes right to Spotify or Google Podcasts if it's an Android user. So that makes it a lot easier, because ultimately you just don't want somebody to click. You want them to actually click, wait for it to load, click play and listen. And you're going to dramatically increase the likelihood if you get that right, if you know which operating system they have and connect them with the right platform. You don't want to be sending Android users to a Apple Podcasts.
No. No, where are you getting your stuff these days? Just curious. Like, where do you get your industry news? Are there a couple people you like to follow that keep you fresh? Because I got to be honest, I struggle with that a little bit because I, got into the industry. I got into this role. I followed you, of course. I followed every industry syndicate, and then it quickly becomes noise. There's a lot
Yes.
out there. Chrisman is always solid, right? That is always just exactly what you're going to get: beans and rice. You're going to get the core of the meal every morning, and it's amazing. But man, I don't listen to all your podcasts. I should. What do you do? Do you drill it down to a couple people? Are there a couple people you follow? What's your regimen?
Good question. So the honest answer is I don't listen to a whole lot of other stuff because I'm so busy just doing my own stuff. I like to listen to non-real estate industry stuff. So I'll listen to a podcast called My First Million, which is like Silicon Valley startup entrepreneur stuff.
Yeah.
I listen to Joe Rogan every once in a while. I listen to Smart Passive Income by Pat Flynn. And because I'm a marketing guy, and so I get great marketing ideas and strategies outside of our industry that are proven and work, but it's like, well, why aren't we using that here? So that's what I like. And then, but then I do want to know what you're doing on Mortgage Impact and Phil's mortgage marketing expert. And, I want to know what's going on the mortgage side of the industry. So I listen to your guys' shows every once in a while. I'm just okay with I don't listen to every episode of all my friends' shows. I can't. I have my own life, and that's okay. And I consume Housing Wire stuff every once in a while. They're pretty good for industry news. I get Inman's stupid email newsletter, and I really just read the headlines because I'm too cheap to pay for their service. But it gives me ideas on what to Google if I want to research a topic, and then I follow other industry professionals and industry influencers on social, and I just randomly see stuff come across. I probably miss a lot about what's going on, but I pick up enough, and then I'm okay with that. I run with. You don't have to know everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Dustin, you mentioned it. You're super busy. Everybody in our industry, which is a very good thing to be grateful for, to be honest. We're very grateful to be busy, but at the same time, people are really freaking busy right now. So
Yes.
if there is one thing, if they are looking at a marketing tool, something to focus on, do they need to pick one and go with it? Do they need to really spread themselves out? If they're going to pick something now and focus on that to make themselves better, what should they do? Where should they go?
Oh, that is such a fantastic question. That's the right question because everyone's going to find this out pretty soon. And I've found this out numerous times in my career. When you stop doing the things that got you busy in the first place, you're not busy anymore now, are you? And so, if you're doing the content marketing strategies that you guys talk about on this show and that I talk about and, that you see elsewhere, if you're doing those things and they start working, well, you have to keep doing them. Because if you don't, that's what creates this up and down, boom and bust, feast and famine cycle that so many real estate and mortgage people suffer from. They're afflicted with it. And it's really because they have not figured out that, okay, I'm going to do this stuff and it's going to get me busy. Then what? You have to think about how to outsource certain things and systemize certain things or pay someone to help you to continue to do the things that got you busy in the first place. So for me, my number one priority every week is to record my podcast episode. Then I outsource the editing. And then once that's done, I just go in, come up with a headline myself. Then I have someone else do some graphics and do, I kind of systemized it a little bit so I can focus on doing more. If that's a YouTube video for you, record it, have someone else record it for you and then edit it and then spit it out on the other end. It's going to cost some money, but if you're doing so well, if you have so much business, you have to allocate some of that income to growing your business and to, systemizing what got you busy in the first place. Otherwise, you won't be busy anymore.
Bringing the hot truth right there. I like it. This is a little hot take, right? Jake's just shaking his head. He's like, oh man, speaking the truth.
No, I mean, there's really nothing else that I can add to that. I mean, I'm sitting here, I hope that people, when they listen to this, the two people that come to mind for me in our industry is, I don't know, Dustin, I'm sure you follow Neil Dingra. He's in Reno.
Yeah.
Guy has exploded recently, loan officer there. What he's done with his personal brand, like you two guys, I think more than anybody that I can think of. I mean, there's other people, of course, but like you guys are really living and breathing it. People talk about it, like, build your personal brand, do all this. I mean, it is a ton of work, and you guys are actually doing it and putting it in. And I think that there's no mistake why, you're winning awards for the top podcast in the industry, and why you're getting recognized and asked to speak all over the place. And the same with Neil, because you guys put it in, man. So I just, when people see this headline and they listen to this, I think they'll know you if they're in the industry, but I hope people really dig in and follow you, because you are for sure practicing what you preach.
Thank you. Thank you. It's hard. Like, I have a wife and kids, and I want to spend as much time as I can with them. And, I have other businesses and other interests that I'm doing. And, we all have life. Like, we all have stuff to do. You just have to prioritize and have non-negotiables. And I think I've done that really well. And if as long as I do the major things and those get done, some of the other extras that are just like nice, like I probably should have sent a weekly email this week, or I probably should have done a few more little audiograms, or I probably should have done this, that, or the other. Well, I got the big things done, and I'm just okay with not being able to do everything. You're right. Neil Dingra is absolutely doing a great job. His graphics are some of the best I've seen, and he does it so consistently. So he's definitely someone to look at. But man, I've just been good with prioritizing and then making sure that I get those priorities done every single week, no matter what.
Awesome.
I get to hire really good people that do all of it.
It's fantastic.
I'm just trying to keep up, Dustin.
Even then there are days where like, we have so much, like, let's figure out how to do this.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, the work, Jen, that you guys and your team do every day for us is incredible, but you're right. I mean, we're going back and forth this week around, oh, wow, top 10 things you need to do when you're, getting your home ready for sale. That'd be a good video. Yes, it would, Jake. That would be a great video.
Amazing video.
Where should I fit that in?
No, but you're right, guys. I love that, Dustin, the advice of the stuff that you were doing to get you business, keep doing that. And that's a great place to start. And when you can add in the extra stuff, add it in. But we always preach consistency. We always preach, if you're going to start something, be consistent about it and make that your goal. So excellent advice there.
Thank you. Yeah. Consistency is everything. I mean, I've done 139 straight weekly episodes of my podcast. And there was a while there I did 570 daily, 7 days a week, daily episodes of my flash briefing, which I stopped doing because I realized that just wasn't producing what I wanted. But consistency is everything. Like, so much that I have to be grateful for today is because of being consistent over the last year or two or three. And I see so many people that give up after a month, and they're like, I did 4 YouTube videos and I didn't get any leads, so this isn't working. Jake, you were wrong. I shouldn't have just pressed record. Well, what if you would have just done it for another 2 weeks?
I know.
People quit way too early.
Yeah, you got to give it time. You got to give a little bit of time to analytics, see what works, what doesn't. I was just telling Jake before we got on, I was like, hey, last time we had a realtor focused topic on this podcast, our downloads were great. Like, that's a market we need to tap into more. And you look at that and so it's like, hey, that's perfect. Let's talk some realtor topics too. So analytics, I love. I get kind of nerdy about them, but they work. So same thing with looking at your sales. What works, what doesn't. Go back to what works. Cool. Dustin, thank you so much for taking time for us today. Greatly appreciate it. Jake, same to you with your homeschool schedule with the kiddos.
Thank you, Dustin. Next time, please wear the massive blazer. I am massively disappointed that you did not have it on, but we'll save that for the next episode.
I've outworn it. It's at the dry cleaners. I've just been wearing it way too much.
It's been at the dry cleaners since Engage Marketing, Dustin. You left it accidentally all over the country.
That's because I never wear a blazer, and I forgot all about it until just now. So there we go.
Wow. And that's going to be like a little Easter egg next time. It's like, where's the blazer? Where's Dustin's blazer? We got to find it. Awesome. All right, guys. Thank you so much.
You're the best. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.